Sketches can help you create something sweet and simple, or be the starting point for a more detailed design. For this sketch starter, I'll start simple, then add more elements for a stepped-up take. Welcome to Sketch Starters with Nicole. For both projects today, these are the core items we'll be using: the Fall Harvest inks, the Sweet Dreams inks, Bloom and Bud stamp and die set, Envelope Art stamp set, and Sentiment Strips 2 stamp set. For my first step, I'll get the easy part out of the way. I'm going to use Dewdrops ink from the Sweet Dreams collection and my ink blender with just a little bit of pressure to create a nice soft glow on my card base. This is going to help make the card not look so plain, even though our first design will be a very simple design. So as you saw in the sketch, it is very simple. It's just a circle with a little banner through it. And that means that you have a lot of room for interpretation. So all I need is the slightest bit of a bluish green haze here to really help the end product stand out. Next, I'll start working up my flowers using the Bloom and Bud stamp set. So I have the backgrounds set up, and I'll be coloring these using the Fall Harvest inks. So I'll start with the lightest color, which is Butternut. For the second layer, I'll move on to Pumpkin Pie. I'll do the third layer in Yellow Ochre. And for the final layer on the flowers, I'll use Sicilian Amber. Instead of using a traditional green for the leaves and stems, I'm going to be using the Sweet Dreams set. So I'm going to start again with Dewdrops for the leaf and stem on the small bloom. I'll add in the first detail layer using Aqualicious. And I'll do the second detail layer in Teal Cave. Before I die cut these flowers, I'll go ahead and finish off the large bloom with the centers in Teal Cave and Galactic Stream. So there's the larger piece that I'll do in Teal Cave, and then I'll come back and add in the final detail layer with Galactic Stream. Next, I'll create the banner element, and I'll be using 3 pieces from the Envelope Art set. I'll be using this piece here and then 2 of the little flag ends to create a unique look. So I have my first piece set up here, and I'm using Obsidian Black. So I just need to stamp my first part here. There we go. And then I'll use some flag pieces to create an interesting flag look that has a flag on the bottom and a flag on the top. So instead of having them both come down the bottom side, I'm going to flip this one around and have it come off the top, while this one here will be aligned to come off the bottom. And there we go, a really, really neat look for this banner set. For this next step, I'm going to get this little sentiment from Sentiment Strips 2 into the banner. And I'm going to use this banner to create an arc that will allow me to make an arc with this stamp. So as you know, sentiment strips, they're just regular strips, but this has a bit of a curve to it. So I'm taking the piece that I just stamped with and putting it down in place. I'm going to use that to create an arc for my second stamp here. So now I can put in my sentiment and just push it up against the banner stamp, and you see how they stick together. So now I have an arced sentiment, and I'll go ahead and close my lid, grab both of those stamps. Okay, make sure my paper's in place, and then hold on to the sentiment while peeling up the arc. So I'll set this aside, and now I can stamp my sentiment in here, and I know that it's going to fit in there just perfect. So let's take a look and see how that happens. There we go, a beautiful arc in my sentiment banner. All right, now that I have all of my sketch elements, we can do some assembly. So I'm going to create this bud and the bloom into one element, and I'm just gonna add a little bit of adhesive down the side there and pop them together. Now what I'm gonna do is make sure that this bloom here kind of overlaps, and it just kind of makes them look like a really nice piece together. And then this whole thing is going to go flat down on our card base. Just like so. Then for my sentiment strip here, it can go flat down onto the card, or I can pop it up with a few bits of foam adhesive, which I think I'll do. So I'll pop this guy up. And center that right along the bottom here. And then to add just a little bit more interest, I'll throw some of the Cool Summer Nights enamel dots on here. And I'm going to use the small ones and the medium ones. So let me grab a couple small ones here. So let's pop one like right about here. And then as always, I'm doing a triangle pattern. So I'll pop a medium here and then another small one just in a little bit further. And then I've got a cute little triangle pattern. So this is our sweet and simple take on the sketch. Let's go ahead and kick this up a notch and add some extra elements that will take this exact same design to a new level. All right, for this stepped up version, we are going to use all the same exact elements, except we're going to add a little bit extra detail with some embellishment and other techniques. So we're going to start with the background, and I've already got this done up with the ink blending on it. So I need to step this up a little bit. I'm going to take my Feeling Dotty stencil and a little bit of our embossing paste and add some texture over this from the background. Now the cool thing about Ultimate embossing paste is that even though it starts white, if you put this over a color, it will take on that color, and eventually it will all kind of look the same, but there will be texture. It is really a neat effect. All right, so just a little bit of embossing paste on here. And there we go. So now I've got some really great texture, and eventually these little white dots are going to look a little bit more blue instead of white. For our next stepped up step, we're going to add some embossing ink to our floral images. So I already have these stamped out, and now I just need to add some anti-static powder to both of these designs here. This is especially important if you have just finished stamping, because your ink could still be a little wet, and we want to make sure that the embossing powder doesn't stick everywhere. So now I've got the embossing ink, and I will ink up the most detailed layer of these two stamps and go ahead and pop that on there. And we will add some clear embossing powder to this, and that will give us just that little bit of extra detail that takes this design up a notch. So there you go. You can see that just those little bits of detail will be embossed, which will step up this layer quite a bit. For our third stepped up element, not only did I do some heat embossing on this banner, but I'm also going to add in some journaling pen. And this is going to take up the detail on this to the next level. So just a little bit of some kind of flick strokes on the ends here, and a little bit here on the top, and then a little bit more down here. And then again in our dark recesses where there would be a little bit more shadow, we're going to create some extra detail to this banner. So with just a few pen strokes, you can see that you've got a little bit of extra detail, which makes this banner look even better. So now that we have our extra detail complete, it's time to assemble this. We're going to assemble this card in the exact same layout that we did the first card. I'm going to add a few extra details here too, though. So instead of laying this piece flat, I've added a few foam adhesives on the back of the bud, and that's going to help pop out on the card base and give it just a little bit more dimension. The rest of it is going to be glued down flat. So you'll see that when I put this down on the card, this area will remain flat on the card, but the bud here is going to pop up a little bit, and that gives us some extra dimension. Again, giving us some more layers and things to work with. And this time with the sentiment, I've added some foam adhesives only to the center, but to the sides, I'm going to add regular glue and let that stick straight to the card base. So I'll align the center here. And then instead of having that sticking up, I'll go ahead and push these ends down. And that will kind of help make this look like it's arcing a little bit instead of just going straight across. All right, so of course we need to just add in our last little elements. These were present on the first card, and we'll put on some more of our enamel dots in the same configuration. So there we go. Now we have our simple design and our stepped up design. Which did you prefer? Go ahead and leave me a comment below to let me know. I hope you enjoyed these simple to stepped up ideas. If you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. When you use this sketch, don't forget to tag @Altenew LLC and Pixel Maven's Retreat. I truly enjoyed spending some crafty time with you today. I'll be back soon with another sketch starter, but until then, happy crafting.
Hello crafters, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching.